وتحفز النفس الكريمة تبتغي الجنات بحلول شهر الصوم والرحمات والرضوان.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the discussion of the first juz of the Quran Kareem, amongst the many topics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about is the discussion of the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and the moment wherein Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Adam alayhi salatu wasalam superior to all the makhluqat and creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the kitab, in the book of Allah, in Surah Baqarah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. That when your Rabb said to the malaika that inni ja'ilun, that I am certainly going to create in the world, on the earth, a vicegerent. This refers to the prior creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prior to the creation of humanity and Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, had created other creations that occupied the earth. We know of the jinnat, and it was for this very reason that the malaika objected to the creation of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, considering that Adam alayhi salatu wasalam will do the very same things of fasad and corruption that was synonymous with the jinnat that were created on earth and were at that point in time running havoc on the surface of the earth. And so therefore they questioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, are you creating, O Allah, may yufsidu fiha, who will cause fasad and corruption in the earth and who will spill blood? Remember, the question of the malaika is not a disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but rather it is one of inquiry. And the Quran also teaches us that where a person is a student or a subordinate and makes a question of inquiry in the most respectful of ways, it indeed is something which is recommended. Husnul su'al, the best of questions, are regarded as nisful ilm, half of knowledge. And the malaika told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whilst we are making your tasbih and your tahmeed, we are praising you and glorifying you, what would be the need of this creation who also serves this purpose as well? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to them that I know what you do not know. Thereafter, Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was taught the names of all the things that were required of his world and his survival. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا, that we taught Adam alayhi salatu wasalam the names of all of it in reference to the world and the workings of this world. ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ, then we presented these items unto the malaika to name them, to describe them, and the malaika were not able to respond. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, that inform me of the names of all these things if in fact you are truthful. The malaika were unable to respond, and therefore Adam alayhi salatu wasalam excelled above the malaika by way and the virtue of the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had now granted him. This is the very essence of knowledge in its own right. The purpose of knowledge is for insan, the human being, to excel. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our deen in general speaks of the different types of knowledge that are out there. Iblis, Shaitan, also had knowledge, but his knowledge of what he knew and the workings of his world turned him away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here, Adam alayhi salatu wasalam became an exemplar that your knowledge will allow and demand that other people bow in front of you. But at the same time, it is this very same knowledge that is intended to humble you. And of the greatest humbling events that humanity ever underwent was the tawbah of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. That where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now also in the surah itself describes that occasion, that where Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and his wife, our mother Hawa alayhi salatu wasalam, now disobeyed the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him that, O Adam, that you will descend unto the world. Initially, due to the closeness that Adam alayhi salatu wasalam had to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him that وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ, that, O Adam, you and your wife reside in Jannah, and eat from that Jannah, eat from that paradise, رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا, your heart's content wherever you so desire. But the command of Allah, وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِي الشَّجَرَةِ, do not come close to this tree. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ, Shaitan made them slip, for it is the promise of Shaitan that he intends to waylay Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and the children of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. Then came the instruction of Allah to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam to descend unto the earth. And as we know that he was initially separated from his wife Hawa alayhi salatu wasalam. But after many years, and the exact number of years is in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the tawbah of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and upon the acceptance of that tawbah, reunited him with his wife, our mother, and so was the inception of insan, of the human being, that started off in the vicinity of Makkatul Mukarramah. As a discussion of the surah itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also addresses the Bani Israel on a number of occasions, that, O people of the book, O Bani Israel, do not sell short the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his verses, thamanan qalila, with a price, in reference to the fact of the habits of the priests in particular of the Bani Israel, that they would now ensure that those who came to them for guidance, if they were able to pay a price, that the guidance that they would receive would be in accordance to their whims and fancies, and those who could not afford it, they would now make a spectacle out of that person in ensuring that the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stick unto that person, but rather making an exception for a person who was wealthy, out of the hope that they would benefit from the wealth of that person. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs them that do not sell the verses thamanan qalila, for a small price. Continuing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to the people of the book in particular, that you should be the very first to now submit to the ways of this Nabi, of this Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, noting and realizing that this is what is the truth, and this is the means and the method of guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has now given you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also reminds the Bani Israel of their early days, wherein they were saved from the clutches of Fir'aun, wherein they were now thirsty, and when they sought water, and where Musa alayhi salatu wasalam now was instructed by Allah to strike the rock, and 12 springs came forth from that rock, one for every family or branch of the Bani Israel. But yet they were still ungrateful to Allah by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for different items of food, even though they were given facility directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's treasure to eat in the period of time that they were in exile. In brief, the opening verses of Surah Baqarah, right towards the middle and towards the end, are a number of reminders. Reminder number one, the virtue of knowledge and the superiority of those who have true and genuine knowledge above all others, like the superiority of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam over even the Malaika. Number two, to remain ever humble and grateful unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not to despise the bounties of Allah like the Bani Israel had done so, that when they were now given fruit and food directly from Jannah, that they sought to ask for the things of this world and sought to be not grateful to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had now sent them. And a third lesson unto those who are the scholars of deen in particular, as the Bani Israel and the people of the book were now instructed that do not sell the ayats and the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a puny petty sum of this world, but rather inculcate taqwa, inculcate consciousness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is watching, who will one day call us to account because of the ilm and the knowledge that we have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq of amal and the importance of the message. Ameen.
واكتب لنا أن ندخل الجنات بالريان